From a crash that led to a driver laying crippled on the asphalt to one that split an F1 car in half, these are 10 of the deadliest crashes in F1 history that drivers survived. 10. Zhou Guanyu, Silverstone, 2022. Rookie driver Zhou Guanyu found himself in a horrific crash that had everyone on edge at the 2022 British Grand Prix at Silverstone. The very first lap saw Pierre Gasly and George Russell tangle, sending Zhou's Alfa Romeo flipping and skidding across the track. His car eventually slammed into the barriers beyond turn 1. As the dust settled, Mercedes' George Russell immediately ran over to check on Zhou, sacrificing his own race to make sure the young driver was okay after their high-speed collision. Despite the violent impact, Zhou was cleared by the medical team at Silverstone with no serious injuries. Astonishingly, his first thought wasn't about the crash, but about getting back behind the wheel for the upcoming Austrian Grand Prix and sprint race. 9. Fernando Alonso, Albert Park, 2016. In 2016, Melbourne kicked off the Formula 1 season with Lewis Hamilton on pole, Nico Rosberg in second, Sebastian Vettel in third, Fernando Alonso in 11th, and Esteban Gutierrez starting from 20th. As the lights went out, Vettel shot off the line, snatching the lead while Hamilton got shuffled down to 5th. Rosberg settled into second, with overtaking proving tricky for everyone. On lap 17, Alonso found himself stuck behind Gutierrez in Haas's debut race. His timing was simply a fraction off as he tried to swoop around turn 3's outside. With no chance to slow down, Alonso's car crashed into the rear of Gutierrez's, mercilessly angling him into the wall. Alonso was a helpless passenger as his car flipped and broke in midair from somersaulting. At last, the wreck settled upside down against a wall. Alonso wriggled out of the rubble, obviously startled and struggling to breathe. The race was red flagged to help with cleanup. Later on, the FIA said that Alonso had been trying the pass at 194 miles per hour, slowing just slightly to 190 miles per hour at impact. Alonso explained afterwards, "I'm lucky to be here and thankful to be here." 8. Martin Brundle, Albert Park, 1996. At just 1 minute and 56 seconds, Martin Brundle's 1996 Australian Grand Prix was a fleeting moment in the record books, but a memory that still haunts Albert Park. Commencing his first F1 season with Jordan, Brundle qualified a poor 19th at Melbourne's inaugural race. Particularly on a brand new circuit, it's never ideal to be in the middle of the pack at the start of a new season. Brundle negotiated the first 2 corners of the race well enough, but chaos greeted him at turn 3. David Coulthard's McLaren suddenly swerved left, clipping Johnny Herbert's Sauber, leaving Brundle with no escape route. His Jordan launched into the air, flipping and rolling before crashing back down with half its engine missing. Amazingly unhurt, Brundle clambered out of the wreckage and sprinted to the pits, determined to restart in the spare car, despite the pain from old leg injuries. Once he was back on track, adrenaline pumping, his race was short-lived. On lap 2, he collided with Pedro Diniz' Ligier at, you guessed it, turn 3, spun and stalled. His race was over, but his determination was unforgettable. 7. Fernando Alonso, Interlagos, 2003. In front of 120,000 spectators in 2003, a rain-soaked Interlagos set the stage for a chaotic race, filled with crashes and a start that featured 8 laps behind the safety car. Among those caught in the chaos was Ferrari's Michael Schumacher, who crashed out, marking his first non-finish in over 2 years. But the drama didn't stop there. Mark Webber's crash became the other defining moment of the day. The slippery track claims several big names, including Jenson Button, whose relationship with Interlagos has been anything but smooth. He'd later win his F1 championship with Brawn GP, but also had a frightening moment when his car was shot at while driving back to his hotel. As David Coulthard headed to the pits, Webber tried to gain ground but lost control on the main straight, smashing his car so badly it looked like a wheelless wreck. One of Webber's loose wheels went unnoticed by Fernando Alonso, who collided with it, then smashed into a tyre sidewall. Alonso ended up with bruises on his left elbow, knee and thigh, spending the night under observation at the St. Louis Hospital in Sao Paulo. 6. Robert Kubica, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, 2007. The 2007 Canadian Grand Prix is often celebrated as the day Lewis Hamilton claimed his first Formula 1 victory, marking a historic moment as the first black driver to win an F1. But that day in Montreal also saw a horrific crash that left everyone gasping for air. Driving at top speed, Robert Kubica swerved off the track and struck a hump in the grass, sending his car flying out of control. Kubica crashed into the concrete retaining wall at a terrifying speed, more than 186 miles per hour. The force measured at an incredible 75 Gs had a terrible impact. Amazingly, Kubica escaped with just a mild concussion and a sprained ankle, injuries that would seem almost minor given the sheer force of the collision. 5. Rubens Barrichello, Imola, 1994. There are many shocking races burned into the history of the sport, but very few of them linger in memory like the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix at Imola. That fateful weekend began under a dark cloud, following a terrifying crash involving Rubens Barrichello, Ayrton Senna's protege, on Friday, April the 29th, 1994. Remarkably, Barrichello, driving for Jordan, was leading the Brazilian charge in the championship thanks to a 4th place finish in Brazil and his first career podium in Japan. Senna, in his new Williams, had yet to score a point after a spin in Sao Paulo and a collision with Mika Häkkinen in Ida. Back then, F1 qualifying was spread over Friday and Saturday, with Senna eventually securing his 65th and final pole with a lap of 1 minute and 21.548 seconds. But Friday's session was rocked when Barrichello's car hit a curb at the Variante Bassa chicane, launching him into the tyre barrier at 140 miles per hour, with a brutal impact registering 95 G. The crash left Barrichello unconscious, his car resting on its side before marshals casually flipped it upright. In the medical centre, Senna watched over his young compatriot, whose life was saved by Professor Sid Watkins after his tongue blocked his airway. Barrichello miraculously escaped with only minor injuries, a broken nose and a busted lip, then spending the rest of the weekend watching the events play out on TV. 4. Mika Häkkinen, Adelaide, 1995. The 1995 Australian Grand Prix marked the final race on the bumpy Adelaide Street circuit, which had been a part of the Formula One calendar since 1985. Hatever, the move that weekend was overshadowed by concerns about safety in the sport. Mika Häkkinen was getting ready to go round Brewery Bend, a fast right-hander in the middle of the circuit, on Friday afternoon when something terrible happened. At 124 miles per hour, his left rear tyre gave out and his McLaren Mercedes crashed into the tyre wall. Because the impact was so strong, Häkkinen's head hit the steering wheel and broke it in half. Even the buttons got stuck in his helmet. However, 2 doctors, neurologist Stephen Lewis and intensive care specialist Jerome Cockings, were lucky enough to be right at the bend. Within seconds, they got to Häkkinen and did an emergency tracheotomy on him when they saw that he wasn't breathing. Their quick intervention saved Häkkinen's life. By the time F1's chief medical officer, Sid Watkins, arrived, he decided not to interfere, recognizing the skill of the doctors. After receiving medication, Häkkinen's condition improved and he was stretchered away from the scene. Fortunately, the hospital was just 200 meters from the crash site, a crucial factor in Häkkinen's survival. 3. Martin Donnelly, Jerez, 1990. Martin Donnelly had a difficult rookie Formula One season. He had a few 7th and 8th place finishes, but he couldn't score any points. His V12 Lotus Lamborghini was known for engine problems, so early retirements were sometimes necessary. Notwithstanding these challenges, Donnelly stayed passionate and was still regarded as one of the sport's brightest talents. Sadly, Donnelly's promising future came to a sharp stop during his first year with Lotus. He had a terrible crash while training at the Circuito de Jerez in Spain. Still fastened to his seat, his car slammed into the barriers at 167 miles per hour, exploded and sent him flying through the air. Damon Hill described seeing Donnelly lying in the middle of the track, looking like a crippled doll, and that he had turned blue. Though initially it appeared Donnelly might not have survived, he had. Barely. He suffered major injuries including broken legs, lung and brain contusions, and extensive organ and muscle damage. Doctors put him in a coma for 7 weeks to stabilize him. Although he recovered at last, he had to undergo years of demanding physical therapy and rehabilitation first. 2. Romain Grosjean, Sakir, 2020. These days, we don't often see terrifying crashes in Formula One, but Romain Grosjean's accident at the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix was a heartstopper. Right at the start of the race, things got chaotic at the back of the pack. Grosjean clipped the front of Danny Kvyat's car, sending him careening into a barrier at 119 miles per hour. The impact was brutal. The car split in half and erupted into flames. Seeing a crash like that, you can't help but fear the worst. The car was torn apart, engulfed in fire, and for a moment, everyone watching was holding their breath. Miraculously, the driver compartment held together, and the halo device, introduced in 2018 to protect drivers' heads, played a crucial role in saving Grosjean from a catastrophic injury. As Grosjean later said, "It's the greatest thing we've brought to Formula One, and without it, I wouldn't be able to speak with you today." Despite the severity of the crash, Grosjean walked away with only second-degree burns, a remarkable outcome given the circumstances. 1. Niki Lauda, Nürburgring, 1976. In 1976, the German Grand Prix at the Nürburgring became the scene of one of Formula One's most harrowing moments. Niki Lauda, a champion driver, had warned his fellow racers about the dangers of the unpredictable weather. He even suggested they boycott the race, but his concerns were brushed aside. The race proceeded, with the track treacherously slick in some parts and dry in others. Lauda made a bold move, switching to slick tyres early, hoping to gain an advantage, but this decision nearly cost him his life. His Ferrari lost control, smashing into an embankment at high speed and erupting into flames. Another driver, Brett Lunger, crashed into Lauda's burning car. Trapped in the inferno, Lauda suffered severe burns, inhaled toxic fumes, and fell into a coma. Amazingly, just 6 weeks later, Lauda returned to the track, still bandaged and wearing a custom helmet. He fought his way to second place in the World Championships that year and went on to win 2 more titles before retiring in 1985. Formula One is an incredibly dangerous sport, and these drivers are extremely lucky to have survived, while others have not been as fortunate. Thanks for watching until the end. Now, if you like the video, please make sure you leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to Formula Royale for the best F1 content. Bye for now.